All right, we're back with another episode of the Dickson County Election Podcast for 2024, and I'm pleased to get to the opportunity again today to interview another candidate for Burns Commission. Okay, I keep getting that mixed up. I want to say City Council. I think technically it's the Board of Commissioners. So, and I've got Mr. Jim Davis, who is currently in office seeking re-election. Jim, how you doing today?
I'm doing good, Justin. Thank you.
Hey, man, thank you for coming in. I really appreciate you doing this.
Yes, sir.
I think it's good for the folks of Burns to get an opportunity to kind of hear from people who are running for office, and we're getting closer and closer to election day. So appreciate you taking time out of your day. I know you're probably busy, trying to get the word out to everybody. But I appreciate you coming in here and talking to me today. Jim, if you don't mind, let's maybe start by talking a little bit about your background, and
yes, sir.
Maybe telling the folks who are watching, a little bit about how you grew up, and you can talk as much as you want, about it. You can go, the long version, the short version, but just let me know a little bit about your background for everybody watching who may not know you.
Okay. Well, I appreciate it, Justin. Thank you for asking me to do this. Yes, I grew up here in Dickson County. Born in 1959. I was born at the old Dickson General Hospital. A lot of people don't remember it. A lot of people don't remember old Dr. Bell. Walter Bell's one that delivered me. And we lived right up the street from it when I was growing up. And then my mother passed away when I was real little and wound up in New Johnsonville for a couple of years. My dad worked for TVA down there. And then we moved back to Dickson. I've been back in Dickson County ever since. I moved to Burns, actually 30 years ago in January. I bought a piece of land over here and wound up building on it. And we moved there in January of 94, and I've loved it ever since. I love Burns. Burns is a great little community, beautiful little town, and it's got a lot of our residents have been here a long time. You had your heart's in the town, and that's where I'm at. Is I work not too far from town, so I don't have to drive to Nashville every day, and I can come to town. I can come home for lunch a lot of days. So Burns is just, I've known people here in Burns my whole life. I actually had some good friends of my parents. They were actually my godparents, as a matter of fact, that lived right down here off of Johnson Avenue, close to where I live, off of 96. Built a house there back in the 60s. And just because a lot of people in Burns know the McDonoughs, Johnny McDonough, Johnny Boone, and June, and that was their parents. It was Mac and Booney McDonough, and I was there a lot when I was growing up because, like I said, they were good friends with my parents, and we'd go over there, and so I've known Burns just about my whole life, just ever since I was just a little kid. And a lot of friends grew up here and went to school with a lot of guys that went to school, that grew up here. Went to the old Burns Elementary. Of course, I went to Dickson Elementary, but graduated from Dickson County High School in 1977, and I'm not a well-educated person as far as I didn't go to college. I went to technical school. I went to work for TVA, matter of fact, and I went to technical school for a year, and then I served an apprenticeship at Cumberland City at the Cumberland Steam Plant down there, and then got laid off in it and wound up in a body shop. My uncle ran a body shop we used to be Garrett Marsh Ford in Dickson years and years ago. He ran the body shop, and he said, I think this is the industry you need to get into. And I was always interested in cars because he fooled with cars, my brother fooled with cars. My brother's older than me, and I was always interested in cars. So that's why I wound up working in body shops. And I worked at Carl's in Dickson for years and worked for another guy for a while. And then I've been at Varden's in Fairview down on 96 here for almost 20 years. And, of course, I'm getting real close to retirement age and thinking about that and things that goes on around here. Sometimes you think about things that happened years and years ago, and some of the older people that's not here anymore, and some of it's kind of it's sad. I miss some of the older people that were here that I knew when I was growing up, and when I moved here, a lot of them are gone. A lot of my neighbors have passed away, and but you get Burns, you get a love for it, and it doesn't leave, and it never leaves you.
Absolutely, I feel the same way. I've pretty much lived here my whole life, and I got on my Burns Bobcat shirt. I'm wearing here. Kids go to the Burns Middle School, which is really
I coached baseball here. I coached softball. Both my kids played over here at Burns, and I was on the board for years. And there was a lot of good kids came through this town. And I'm telling you, I'm just proud of all of them because a lot of them went on further, and some of them didn't. But I see them all the time, and they still call me Coach Jim. They say,
Yeah.
Coach Jim, you know, if they see me out. And it makes you swell up a little bit. It makes you hey to swell up, you know. Think, them kids still think about me.
Absolutely. I work over at the high school, and I've had my fair share of coaching. Ain't nothing like coaching, is there? It's
No.
a really special thing, and I don't think there's any greater thing that you can do for your community really than invest in your young people.
That's true. Their young people's where it's all going to be, you know. And both of my children are in their mid to late 20s, and I have grandkids now myself, and you know, and I wonder what's going to happen in the years to come, and the way the country is right now. It's kind of a dark spot for a lot of people. I don't really understand why some people think it's not a problem, and some people do. I'm one of the ones that's scared. You know, I don't know how I worry about my grandkids growing up, the country that they're going to grow up in, and that's part of the reason I like the Burns community. You know, is everybody's pretty much together around here. There's not a lot of, you get in large communities, even like Dixon, you know, you get naysayers and you get people that are positive, you get people that are negative, and they clash. And around here, people don't clash. It's just the way Burns has always been.
So that kind of leads me into my next question that I wanted to ask you, which is, why did you decide to do this? I know you've been on the commission here for a little while already,
4 years,
and so you can kind of hit this one of two ways. Maybe tell me, why you originally decided to run, or maybe re-election. But was there a moment? Is this something you always wanted to do? Talk to me a little bit about the motivation for running for office in general.
Well, years ago, I forget what year it was. I ran before, quite a few years back, and my neighbor up the street from me, Jimmy Langford, he's been on the commission, he's been mayor, and everybody knows Jimmy, and he said, we need some more council members. Why don't you run for council? So I said, never really thought about it. I said, what all is involved? And he kind of explained it to me. Of course, things are a lot simpler years ago than it is now, but he said, I think you'd be good. I said, well, I appreciate that. So I did. I signed up, got my papers, and I ran, and there was like 6 people running then, and I think I came in 5th out of 6. So I didn't get discouraged, but I thought, well, I was in a lot of other stuff at that time too. I was doing ball and all that, and I thought, I'll wait a few years and I get a little older, and I might try it again. So about 5 years ago, it's been about 5 years ago, because it was 4 years. I've been on term for 4 years. Mayor Mathis approached me, and he said, listen, we got a couple openings coming up in the council, and you ran before. Would you be interested in running again? And I really hadn't thought about it, and I started thinking, I thought, yeah, I believe I would. I said, because there's been some things that has happened that I myself wasn't too happy about. A lot of the town wasn't happy about. Some good things happened, some bad things happened. I thought, well, maybe if I could make a change, maybe that would be a good thing. So I told him, I said, I'll run. And there was another councilman then, former councilman Kevin Bland. He did the same thing. He told me the exact same thing. He said, we need you on the council because we need somebody that's honest, courteous, and has been here a long time and knows how the town is. I said, well, I appreciate that. And so I did. So I ran, and that 4 years ago, when the council was reset, the first 2 most votes, Jim Anderson was councilman and me, and then we got more votes than anybody. So the first 2 said at 4 years, and then Chad Tidwell and another guy said at 2 years behind that, to keep the council from being wiped out every 2 years or every 4 years. So you're not constantly re-electing the council. You've got people seated, so when new people come in, like myself 4 years ago, they can get acclimated to it. Because when I came in 4 years ago, I didn't know a lot about city government. I knew pretty much how it worked, but till I got up here in one of these seats, I didn't really understand what all was involved as far as running even a town as small as Burns, and the rules and the regulations you have to follow. Because there's you can get in a lot of trouble real quick by not following the state's rules and the government's rules. And so it was a learning curve probably for the first 2 years I've been here. Just trying to figure out what to do and listening mostly, just listening and listening to people, listening to what people talk about, listening to what people fuss about, what they brag about, and they just, that's where you get all your ideas from. The public's who you listen to. You don't worry about what the guy in the seat down there says, or what, you worry about what you use your mind, and you think, well, is that right or is that not right? Or should I do this or should I do that? And you make mistakes. Everybody does. That's human nature. But we try the best of our ability to do what's good for Burns.
And that's really the goal. And you kind of already hit on this, but I'll go ahead and ask you this. But what is it you think makes you a good, public servant? Working, doing this kind of thing. Is it your personality? Is it character traits? Some people say we need a good listener. Other people say we need somebody who's assertive. I mean, what do you think? First off, what do you think makes a good council person, and what do you think makes you a good one?
Well, I try to be a good listener. I try to listen to, like I said, a lot what the people have to say, and what people that come in here, wanting to rezone or whatever it is they're trying to do. I try to listen to what their case is and what what their ideals are, and then try to make a good judgment on what that boils down to. Because you've got to be, as the old saying is, you got to be kind of thick-skinned. You're gonna get your feelings hurt sooner or later. It's gonna hurt. Somebody's gonna fuss on you, but you've got to just kind of let it shed off your back and just go on. People, they talk about this and they talk about that, but I try to be honest. And biggest thing is you can't lie to people. If you lie to people, the next thing you know, you've got another lie to cover up the lie you did, and you just can't do that. And especially not in a small town like this, especially. And there's been some cases, not in this town, but of course, we all heard of some other things that have happened in some other towns, and there's been some people that were sitting in council, and even a mayor that got in big trouble for getting caught in lies and not telling the truth and not doing what they're supposed to do. And that's the biggest thing you got to do, is be honest, be courteous, and do what your heart tells you to do for Burns.
Tell me about the last 4 years, because you are, an incumbent. You've been on there, and this is usually the point where I ask the question. I usually say to somebody who's never been in the position, I'll usually say, what is something that you would do different? And you can definitely approach it from that way if you want. But as somebody who has been here, talk to me maybe just a little bit about the last 4 years, and tell me just kind of in general what's that been like, and is there anything that has happened that you're particularly proud of, and just kind of reflect back on your time so far.
Well, the first couple of years, like I said, was kind of like a learning curve, and there was some turmoil in Burns at that time when I first got seated. And a lot of people that are here now that weren't there then may not know about it, but there was some turmoil about the Camp Ravine Estates and the ball field, and that was the two biggest, straws in the biscuit, or hair in a biscuit, as some people call it. But we had some real problems there. There were some lawsuits, and the town, before I came in, the town had to make some real difficult decisions to get rid of some properties to get basically out of that. Got sued and had to expunge some stuff to get the money to do it, because we're not rich. A lot of people think we are, but we're not by no means. And so that was kind of started me right off the bat, was learning what not to do. And then there's growth. We have our growth here, and that's one of the things that a lot of people don't understand. And I love Burns, like I said, and I love the core part of Burns. Of course, now a lot of the biggest growth is, of course, going on the outer edges of Burns at this time. And there's been some here in the core of Burns, and a lot of that, of course, was done before I got here, but I still don't. You've got to grow, and that is our goal, and that's what we've worked on the last couple of years, is trying to grow. Not necessarily rooftops, but we want more business. That's where the biggest thing is business taxes, things like that is pretty much what supports the town. The rooftops really don't do it, but I do get questioned a lot. People ask me, why can't we get a grocery store? Why can't we get this? Why can't we get that? Well, it's kind of a catch-22 situation. A lot of these big companies, they want so many rooftops in a town to come in there. They want to say, well, you don't have enough people. You know, even take for instance Dixon. You know, they won't build Olive Garden up there because they said there's not enough people. I don't know what that number is, but if you could find a hometown guy, you know, even just a mom and pop thing, like for Burns here, for a grocery store similar to like the IGA in Charlotte, for instance, or just a little burger joint, you know, that makes hamburgers, hot dogs, milkshakes. That's something we'd love to get here, and that's what we've been working on, trying to attract that kind of business. We have the Dollar Generals here, and I still, to this day, don't know why they want 3 in this town, but there's been a lot of uproar over that.
I've heard that too.
There's been a lot of uproar over that, and still don't understand. Of course, on my side of it, I've also been on the Burns Planning Commission myself. I'm the secretary for the Burns Planning Commission, and you know, all we do, people don't understand. I don't think what the Planning Commission itself does. They think we tell all these people, oh yeah, you can buy this land and you can do this and you can do this. Well, that is true, but there's rules and regulations. There's subdivision rules. There's certain rules of the building materials and all that they have to follow. And we stay in constant contact with the state, and we have other people that come in here, engineers that know what our rules are, and the GNRC people, they come in here, they're here every meeting. And they are ones that they're basically what they are is the building police. Mm-hmm. They make sure that those people are adhering to what their plans say, or you've got to have this width driveway, and you can't do this and you can't do that, and make the changes. And then we take them under advice, and then of course we get through to a final plat of a building or a subdivision or whatever it is, and of course then it goes to the council, and the council will either vote it in or voted out after 3 readings. And there's been several times here recently that it has not passed, because there's a lot of people that want any more growth in like I said, in the core part of town. And I really do feel like we've probably just about X'd what's going to be built right here in the middle of town out as far as housing. There's probably a couple of lots that are still up for sale that may have a house or 2 on them, but there won't be any subdivisions. And there's a few places lots are probably going to be cleared off that have existing buildings. And I don't have a problem with someone coming in and tearing an old house down if it's dilapidated, it needs to be gone, and putting a nice home right there. That's a good thing. And you know, and it revitalizes the town. But you know, stacking houses on top of each other is not really what we want, where we want to be. Of course, there is a large project fixing to start way out 96 here, out off of White Bluff Road there. This big subdivision is fixed to start there, but we're going to be watching it like a hawk, as the old saying goes. But it will be a good thing. I've seen the plans for it, and it's not like they're just going to throw up a bunch of cracker boxes right beside each other. They have really good intentions of where they want to build that.
All right, and Jim, and you've already kind of talked about this a little bit, but you know, talk to me a little bit about your vision for the future of Burns, because you know, people who have been here for a long time, like myself, you know, we've seen some changes. You know, one of the things that I really love is the Lonesome Cabin over here. I think that's a great addition. Talking to, you know, Mayor Grove, about to be Mayor Grove, I guess, you know, because he's running unopposed. And talked to him a few days ago about you know, some of the parks and recreation. We got another park that we're creating over here, and you know, great new baseball fields that my kids get to play at. You know, I played right over here in the little gully over here, which nothing was wrong with that. I loved playing over there as a kid. But then you see the new baseball field, and it's just fantastic that, you know, my kids and all these other kids that are getting to grow up in Burns, you know, like I did, and you know, get these new things. And you know, there is a kind of a balance between, you know, adding stuff in and keeping it the way it was, right?
Correct.
But talk to me a little bit about where you'd like to see Burns end up. You know, when it's said and done, you're going to be involved in a lot of these decisions, and you know, you're kind of molding the town. How would you like to see it look in the future?
Yes, I would like to see, you know, like I said, we would like to see more businesses right here on 96. And Mayor-elect Groves has some really good ideas about cleaning up some things around town here, as far as, now I'm not talking about picking up trash. I'm talking about cleaning up some of the areas where there's there's some places that the roads need to be changed and the roads need to be worked on, things like that. He's got really good output on all that, and he's really good about working on that stuff. And we look more toward, this is going to sound kind of crazy, but we're kind of looking more toward like going toward Colesburg, because there's, whether you know it or not, there's a lot of areas between the four-way stop and Old Columbia down there. They don't even have sewer on that strip down through there.
Oh, wow.
They don't have city sewer. Don't know how that happened when they put sewer, because it came all through Burns. But anyway, that's in the works, trying to work on getting that done, which will help a lot of the people that live down through there now. Which is not going to be a lot of more. There's not going to be a lot more development down through there that I could you mention, because the built a dollar store. They do own some land right there beside it, and it's commercial, so it would be a business. Mm-hmm. It won't be a bunch of cracker box houses put up in there or anything like that. But kind of beautify. We want to try to kind of beautify Burns more. We've done some things around, especially with a couple of these subdivisions, as far as getting some nice looking lights and street signs and things like that up. But it all boils down to one thing, and is for the future, is it takes money to do all those things. And people, I guess, think that houses, people, taxpayers, which that's part of it, but businesses is where your money comes from, and we want to see more businesses, so we'll have more money to expand Burns as far as a community, as far as like what you mentioned earlier about Lonesome Cabin down here. That's a beautiful little spot down there. I love going down there, in the new municipal park that has been started, that we own the property down below off of Old Girl Scout Road down there off Beechwood. They've been working on that, and that's some things that we can do that doesn't cost a lot of money, but once it's done, it'll be a really good thing for Burns, especially the one down there off of Girl Scout Road. I've been down there, and it's a beautiful area, and it was kind of hidden. It was kind of not even thought about, and then Mayor-elect Rose said, we need to clean that up down there and see what we can do with that. And it's come a long way already.
Yeah.
And we haven't spent a lot of money on it, and that's a good thing. You got to be thrifty with your money. You want things to get better. We would like to have, I don't know what TDOT's plans are in the near future. Of course, they put a turning lane out here in front of the new Dollar General Market. And there's long-term plans to put a 4-lane through here, but we don't know when that's going to happen. And it's been drawn up for several years, and that would be an even better thing for Burns as far as building and far as structures, and businesses and stuff like that. But I like to see the 2 lanes stay here as long as we can keep it, and that's totally up to TDOT. I don't make their decisions for them, but we want to help spruce the town up all we can as we go, and it's going to take a little more time. Mayor Groves gets in here. He's got, like I said, he's got the good ideas. He knows what he wants to do, and he's talked to everybody about it. And I think it's next 2 years especially, it's going to really take off. It's not as far as like saying businesses are going to just jump in here left and right, but we're going to spruce the town up. These parks, the ball fields up there, like you mentioned, I love those ball fields up there, which I did. I coached many years down here in this little hole over here, and there was nothing wrong with that. But that out there is it's kind of a lot of the people that come in from these tournaments that come in here, they're just all inspired that this town this small has got that nice a ball complex.
Yeah.
And the middle school uses it for their baseball and softball, and that's another good thing. The kids, we want the kids to have somewhere to be safe, to play ball, play basketball, play whatever they're going to do, and these parks will help do that. And that's one of our goals right now, is we're working on that as far as trying to spruce the town up a little bit. Let's put it that way.
Well, and I got to mention the Burns Cowboys too, or they're going to get on me.
Oh,
but
yeah.
They have, and my son played last year for the Cowboys, and so we went around to all the different, I want to say stadiums. It's not high school football, but their fields,
right?
All the different fields, and nobody has one quite like Burns.
No, they
and
don't.
And I've talked to Rusty Grove and Landon Mathis, about this, and the city really supports the football program as
Yes.
well, and that's unique in its own right.
The Wombles that started that years ago, that little league, and started the Cowboys, played down here for years and years, and then went out there, and they have put so much time and effort into this. They're part of the reason that the Cowboys are in Burns, and the town wants to keep supporting them because we love them being here. We love the little football league because my son played years ago, and I loved going to those games. But it's like you said, that field out there. You go to some of these other fields. I'm not going to mention any towns, but some of them are they're old and rough, and people are just kind of awe-inspired by what we have out here, and everybody should be proud of it. But there's been a lot of money invested out there too, I'll tell you. But the Cowboys, I just love the Wombles because they've been so good to this town, and the town has tried to help them do everything it could. So whenever they built that field out there, of course they wanted to name it after the Wombles. So that's due respect right there. They earned all that respect.
Absolutely.
They're good folks.
I agree with you there. Now, is there anything else, Jim? We've been talking for quite a while here now. Is there anything else that we haven't touched on that you would like to mention? I know the election's right around the corner, but is there any key points of the campaign, anything that we need to touch on?
Well, I just, I don't know. Like I said, all the candidates are good folks. They're all here. It's hard to say. You're not going to want to say anything derogatory toward anybody or anything like that, which I wouldn't if I could. But get out and vote. People, you got to vote, and there's a lot of issues on the counter now, as the old saying goes. And it's not just about Burns; it's about a little bit of everything else. But we do want you to get out here and vote for the council, and of course, the mayor's going to be in anyway. Of course, he's running unopposed, but we would love you to get out and vote and support the town, support the council. And like I said, I've been here 4 years, and I'd like to serve another term and go from there and see what happens.
Now, is there I just asked some general questions, there's probably, and I'll tell you the truth, every time I do one of these, somebody will send me a message and say, you should have asked them this, you should have asked them that.
Yeah,
and
feel free.
Hey, look, I like to keep it pretty simple and just ask some general questions. But now what I always say is, if you want to ask them something specific, feel free. As a candidate, I'm sure you want people to contact you and things like that. So this would be my last question here is, how would somebody get a hold of you if they're one of those folks who are like, Justin, you should ask this, and they want to throw a question at you? How could they get a hold of you?
Well, I prefer to use email.
Okay.
Which I have an email. I have my email on my phone and at work, and that's what I usually give to everybody. And that's it's all lowercase JIMD.VBS, like Victor Boy Sam, at gmail.com. It comes right to my desk at work and comes right to my phone. And I guarantee you, I will. You email me about something, I will swiftly contact you back about it.
Now, the last thing here is, Election Day's right around the corner. Of course, we record this a little bit in advance, and then I put it out, on social media. So this will probably be coming out, just as early voting is ending, and we're anticipating, the election day.
Yes,
so maybe talk to people just at the last here about, who can vote for you, maybe where they vote, and when they vote. Just some of the basics for people out there who maybe aren't in the loop on that.
Yeah, well, of course, you have to be a Burns resident to vote, of course, in the town of Burns. And if you've not already registered, you can't. You're too late. You can't register to vote this year. But we try to get everybody that we can voted, and, signed up that needed to vote in the town that has. Most of these are newer people. And they didn't understand how to go about it. And we told them about, go to the election commission and get signed up to vote. And we've actually helped some folks get signed up, a couple of months ago. But they'll vote here. I'm pretty sure that they'll vote right here in the council chambers for Burns. Mm-hmm. Of course, every town will have its own polling place because there's been a lot of uproar this year about the early voting because they were on in Charlotte and at the Dixon Library. And I understand why they do that because it takes a lot. That's a lot of work, and a lot of people think, I guess, that it should be 30 or 40 people in it, and it's hard to find people to do that.
Yeah,
you got to be dedicated to do it because they're every day, and you have to be trusted, of course. But the the main thing is get out and vote. And if you have to wait till next Tuesday, November the 5th, please get out and vote. And I would appreciate your votes for town council for Burns. My name's Jim Davis.
Thank you, Jim. And hey, I appreciate you so much for doing this.
Well, thank you, Justin, for asking me.
Well, thank you. I mean, my whole goal is just to get information out to the people. I think this whole show was really born a couple of years ago when there was a group of us who we didn't know a lot about the candidates locally running, and I went and interviewed them and then shared the answers with everybody. And then I was like, maybe next time we can just record it and share that with everybody. And I think Talmadge Woodall was the first one I ever did when he ran for office several years ago. And since then, people have asked me to do it. I'm glad to do it. I appreciate people tuning in and everything. And I just want to make one last plea. Kind of piggybacking off of what you just said. I would love to see there to be a record turnout on voting this year.
Yes.
For everybody who is out there watching, we had a primary a couple months ago and it was the lowest turnout in 20 years. Presidential elections, more people are going to go out for those. And I would love to see us, instead of being the lowest in 20 years, maybe the highest in 20 years.
Exactly.
I just think it'd be better for everybody. The more folks that are involved in the government, and that's really what it's all about, right?
Well, that's true, and it's like the old saying goes, you got to get out. Voting is one of the few things they can't tell you what to do, and they can't tax you on it. But you can't sit back and say, "Well, I didn't like this and I didn't like that." Well, did you vote? Well, no. Well, that's your voice. You've got to use it, and it's use it. No matter who you vote for or what you do, if you vote, you're using your voice. And you can't sit back and say, well, they shouldn't have done this or they shouldn't have done that if you don't go out and vote.
Absolutely. Well, Jim, again, thank you so much for doing this. I appreciate it. We will have, hopefully we will have all of the candidates that are running for office in Burns. We will have them on at some point, hopefully. And, of course, we're going to extend the invitation out to everybody. And we've already done a couple, so we're getting there. And I will also, last thing that I'll say here is election night. We have a new thing. I've been trying to plug this a little bit. Actually, Rusty Grove came up with this idea. Mayor-elect Grove, we had talked, me and him, several times about doing some election night coverage.
Correct.
And we decided that we would try to put something together this year. And it just so happens, that 029 Pizza, this new pizza place here, is, it's opening. It's kind of in its infancy stages right now.
It's crawling, but it's fixing to be up and walking.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know people that own it.
It's exciting,
Yes, it is.
So we talked to them. I think they're going to give us a little venue to broadcast that night.
Yes.
And so we will, be letting you know about what's going on nationally, but, somebody's got to report on what's going on locally.
Exactly.
And so there's going to be some interest in the race here in Burns and be interest in the race in White Bluff and a lot of interest in the election overall. So we thought what we would do is we would set up and have election night coverage over there. So I will be there going live. Be on Facebook, YouTube, all the places that you're watching this podcast. And Mayor Grove is going to come by and he's going to, talk to me a little bit. So I'm excited about that. That's kind of one reason he's running unopposed. So I didn't really have him on the podcast. And then I just decided, hey, we'll talk about it that night.
Yeah.
And so he's going to stop by. And of course, you're welcome. Any of the candidates who are watching, who are running for office, we're inviting you. I'm going to try to reach out to everybody personally, but just so you know, everybody's invited. Just stop by. We'll have microphones sitting out. We'll be going live. If you want to talk, we'll throw you a microphone and we'll go from there. But we'll be doing that on election night. And we've also got some other podcasts going on that'll be coming up pretty soon. So just letting y'all know what's in the future. And so just want to encourage everybody to vote on November 5th. So I guess we'll go ahead and close out. Jim, again, one last time, thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you, Justin.
Appreciate you doing this, because if folks like you wouldn't let me interview them, then I wouldn't be able to do it. So thanks to everybody for watching. We'll be back soon with another episode.